It starts with a smile, a clean desk, neat handwriting, a child who never forgets to say thank you. Everyone says, "You're such a good kid," and you are. You always were. You never shouted. You never cried too long. You learned to hide the mess inside your heart because someone once said, "Good kids don't make trouble." So you became good, painfully good. You cleaned your room, your grades, your face before the tears could fall. You became the peacekeeper, the listener, the one who fixed everyone's bad days. And in all that fixing, you forgot what it felt like to be small. No one noticed how heavy it was to always hold it together, to always smile, even when your chest hurt. Because perfection looks beautiful from far away, but up close, it's just fear wearing a pretty face. You told yourself, "If I'm perfect, they'll stay. If I'm perfect, they'll love me." And every time you failed, even a little, you punished yourself harder than anyone else ever could. You became your own watcher, your own judge, your own jailer. And one day, you looked in the mirror and didn't see a child anymore, just a quiet person who forgot how to rest. This story is for you, the child who tried to save the world by being perfect, the child who smiled instead of asking for help, the child who thought love was something you had to earn. This is not just your story, it's your truth, unhidden. It's time to understand the cost of being the perfect one. It doesn't start with rules, it starts with a feeling, a quiet understanding that love is conditional, that to be safe, you must be good. Maybe it was the day your mother sighed too loudly. Maybe it was when your father's silence filled the room. Maybe it was when you realized the only way to keep peace was to behave perfectly. So, you learned fast. You learned which words made people smile, which mistakes made them angry, and which parts of yourself you had to hide to keep the house calm. You weren't taught this. You absorbed it, like air, like instinct. You noticed how love could vanish in a second, how warmth could turn to cold just because you spilled your milk. So you built your armor. Smiles became your shield. Politeness became your prayer. Achievement became your ticket to belonging. Every good job felt like sunlight. Every frown felt like thunder. You didn't chase happiness, you chased approval. Because somewhere deep down, you believed, if I'm perfect, no one will leave. That belief became your rule book. You cleaned your toys before anyone asked. You apologized even when it wasn't your fault. You studied every face in the room, measuring emotions like a scientist of survival. And people praised you for it. You're so mature. You're so responsible. You never caused trouble. But behind those compliments was a quiet tragedy. No one asked if you were okay. No one saw that your calmness was fear in disguise. You learned to read the world before you could even read words. You learned to silence your own needs before they could make sound. You learned that being loved and being yourself were two very different things. And so, the performance began. Every day, another act, another mask, another reason to hide the tiredness behind your smile. Sometimes, late at night, you wanted to scream but didn't. You wanted to cry, but you didn't. You wanted someone to notice, but they just said, "You're such a strong kid," and you believed them. You started to wear that title like a medal. But medals are heavy when they hang from a small neck. That's how perfection trains you, not with force but with invisible rewards. It teaches you to seek love through effort, to confuse stillness with danger, to replace joy with performance. And by the time you're old enough to understand, you've already forgotten who you were before you became the perfect one. Because perfection doesn't just demand your effort, it demands your soul. It happens slowly, not with screams, not with tears, but with silence. You begin to disappear in small ways. First, you stop asking for help. Then, you stop showing when you're hurt. Then, one day, you stop feeling safe enough to feel at all. Because every time you showed emotion, someone said, "Stop being dramatic. Be strong. Don't make things harder." So, you learned that sadness was a burden, and anger was dangerous, and needing anything was too much. And so, you folded your feelings like clothes that didn't fit anymore, and placed them in the back of your heart. That's how you vanish, not physically, emotionally. You laugh at jokes that don't feel funny. You smile when your chest is heavy. You say I'm fine when your soul is breaking, and the world believes you because you look okay, you act okay, you perform okay, but inside you're living into worlds, the one you show and the one you hide. You become a master of pretending to understand, pretending to agree, pretending to be strong when all you want is to rest. You start confusing peace with silence. You start mistaking numbness for control. You start believing that love is something you must earn, not something you deserve. And the scariest part? It works. People like you for it. They call you reliable. They say you're easy to be around. They never see that their comfort costs you your authenticity, because every time you say yes, when your heart wants to say no, you fade a little more. Every time you comfort others while hiding your pain, you lose a piece of yourself, and one day, you look in the mirror and realize you've become a reflection of what others needed, not who you are. You try to remember the child you once were, the one who laughed too loudly, who believed the world was kind, who thought love was free. But that child feels like a stranger now, because perfection taught you to be safe, not to be real. You were trained to meet every expectation, to avoid every conflict, to never, ever be a burden. And that's how the perfect child grows into the invisible adult, the one who listens but never speaks, the one who gives but never receives, the one who helps everyone but doesn't know how to help themselves. It's a strange kind of loneliness to be loved for the version of you that isn't even real. You walk through life like a ghost with good manners, apologizing for existing too loudly. And when someone finally asks, "What do you want?" you freeze. Because you don't know anymore. You've spent so long becoming what others needed that you forgot what your own voice sounds like. And yet, deep inside, beneath the layers of fine, beneath the practiced smiles, beneath the endless doing, there's still a whisper, a quiet, trembling voice that says, "I miss me." That voice is your truth. It's small now, but it's alive. And one day, it will grow louder, because no matter how far you've disappeared, your real self never leaves you. It waits, it watches, it hopes you'll finally stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be free. You grew up. Everyone said you turned out well. You became the kind of person people admire, hardworking, polite, dependable, the one everyone trusts, the one who never drops the ball. But no one knows how much it costs you to keep everything together. You wake up each morning already tired, already performing. You smile on cue. You listen. You help. You give pieces of yourself until there's almost nothing left to give. And when someone says, "You're amazing," you smile politely, but you don't believe them, because inside, there's still that same quiet rule. I must do more to be enough. You chase approval like air. Through grades, through work, through love. Every success feels good, but only for a moment, because perfection is greedy. It never says, "That's enough." It whispers, "Do more, be better, try harder." You try to rest, but rest feels dangerous. You try to say no, but guilt feels heavier than exhaustion. You try to accept love, but love feels suspicious, like a gift you haven't earned yet. People call you strong. They don't see the anxiety that hides beneath that strength. They see your calm face, not your shaking hands. They see your achievements, not your sleepless nights. You've built a life on doing, but deep down, you long for being. To be held, not for your effort, but for your existence. To be loved, not for what you give, but for who you are. But the perfect child inside you doesn't believe that's possible. They whisper, "Don't show too much. Don't need too much. Don't scare them away." So you shrink your needs, dim your light, and call it balance. But it's not balance. It's survival all over again. You overwork because rest reminds you of helplessness. You overgive because rejection terrifies you. You overthink because control makes you feel safe. You are not broken, you are trained. Trained to earn love through labor. Trained to hide pain behind performance. Trained to measure your worth by how easy you make life for others. But even the strongest masks crack. And sometimes, late at night, when the world is quiet, you hear it, the sound of your own heart asking, "When do I get to be enough?" You scroll through your phone, smile at messages, say "I'm fine" to everyone who asks. But in the silence between replies, You feel it, the weight of every time you swallowed your truth. You wonder what it would feel like to fall apart without apology, to be loved when you're messy, loud, imperfect, to not have to earn your peace. You think of that small child who once carried the world on trembling shoulders. You realize you're still carrying it, just with fancier titles and older hands. Because the truth is, you never stopped trying to be good enough for people who couldn't love you freely. And yet, somewhere within that exhaustion is a beginning, because awareness is the first crack in the armor, and light always enters through cracks. You are not too old to learn softness. You are not too late to rest. You are not too broken to begin again. The adult you've become is still protecting the child you were, but maybe it's time to switch roles and protect them instead. There comes a day when the smile cracks, when the laughter feels hollow, when the armor you built so carefully suddenly feels heavy, like stone tied to your chest. The world still says, "You're fine," and you nod. But inside, the small voice whispers, "I'm tired. I'm tired of holding everything." That voice belongs to the child you buried, the one who once held the house together with trembling hands, the one who hid their tears so no one else would hurt, the one who whispered, "Please don't let them see me break." And now, decades later, they are still waiting. You try to ignore them. You throw yourself into work, into chores, into helping others, anything to drown the sound. But the whisper grows louder. It comes in quiet moments, when you're driving alone, when the world is asleep, when the phone stops ringing, and suddenly you remember you've never been allowed to rest. The adult you built, so competent, so strong, is finally showing cracks, because perfection cannot hold grief forever, because the child inside never forgot, because the soul remembers what the mind tries to hide. You feel it in your chest, a tightness, a hollow ache, a longing for a time you cannot return to. And then it hits, the truth you've been avoiding. You were never meant to carry it all. You were just a child. You were supposed to laugh without fear. You were supposed to cry without guilt. You were supposed to be loved without earning it. But the child inside you never got that. They stayed small. They stayed scared. They stayed alone. And now the adult can't ignore them anymore. You sit quietly and let yourself feel the exhaustion, the sorrow, the anger, the shame. It's terrifying, because it's been so long since anyone let you feel, because feeling is messy, because feelings cannot be fixed with gold stars or good grades. And in that chaos, in that trembling silence, something begins to shift. You imagine holding the child inside. You imagine whispering, "It's okay. You're safe now. You don't have to be perfect anymore. I see you. I hear you. I'm here." The child listens. Tears spill. Laughter trembles. A small breath of relief escapes. It's only a start. Only the first meeting. But it is enough to remind you that the person you've been trying to protect is still alive inside. The inner child is waiting, not to punish you, not to shame you, not to take away your achievements. They are waiting to teach you how to feel again, to remind you that rest is allowed, that joy is not dangerous, that love is not conditional. And in that moment, you realize the breaking point was never the end. It was a door to the child you abandoned, a door to the life you were always meant to reclaim. Because even after years of being perfect, even after carrying the world alone, you can still choose softness. You can still choose to rest. You can still choose to listen. The child inside is waiting. And now, finally, you are ready to come home. You sit quietly. The world still moves around you, but inside, something has shifted. The child you buried is stirring, not shouting, not demanding, just waiting. And you finally listen. You ask, quietly, "What did you need back then? What did I take from you by being strong?" The answers come slowly, like sunlight creeping across a dark room. "I needed someone to hold me when I cried. I needed someone to tell me it wasn't my fault. I needed laughter without fear, and rest without guilt." You realize, all those years, you tried to give to others what you never received yourself. And the truth hits. Healing begins with witnessing, not fixing. Not with achievements, not with discipline, not with endless giving. You start small. You let yourself rest. You let yourself cry without shame. You let yourself ask for help. You let yourself play. The child inside watches, tentative but hopeful. Every small act of self-kindness is like water on dry earth. Slowly, life begins to return. You begin to see the patterns, the way you overwork to feel worthy, the way you overgive to feel loved, the way you silence yourself to avoid conflict. And now you name them. You no longer blame yourself. You see them for what they are, survival habits, not flaws. You practice saying, I was a child. I did what I had to do. I survived. Now I can rest. It's not easy. The world still asks you to be strong. But now you have a choice. You can meet the neediness of your own heart. You can protect the small voice instead of ignoring it. You begin to imagine life differently. A life where perfection is optional. A life where mistakes are allowed. A life where softness is a strength and rest is sacred. The child inside smiles. Not the loud laugh of yesterday, but a quiet recognition, a breath finally free. And as you practice this, you notice changes. You rest without guilt. You say no without trembling. You ask for help without fear. You laugh at your mistakes. You allow joy to exist without needing to earn it. Healing does not erase the past. It honors it. It holds the pain you were never allowed to hold and whispers, you are safe now. You are enough. You begin to meet your inner child in small ways, by speaking kindly to yourself, by noticing your own needs, by letting emotions rise and fall without trying to control them. You start to unlearn the lessons of fear and perfection, the belief that love must be earned, the belief that rest is dangerous, the belief that you are only as valuable as what you do. And slowly, over time, the adult and the child inside begin to coexist. They walk together, they breathe together. They learn what it feels like to be whole again, because the awakening is not about changing who you are. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to hide, before the rules of perfection were written on your soul, before fear replaced play. You were once a child, yes, and that child still lives. And now, finally, you are learning how to hold them with love, not with expectation. You take a deep breath. The air tastes different now, lighter, softer, quieter. The child inside stretches slowly, like waking from a long winter's sleep. Their small hands reach for yours, and you hold them. Finally, no one else will do it for you. No one else can. You are the one who carries them now. You are the one who whispers, you are safe. You are loved. You are enough. Tears fall, not of shame, but of release. A lifetime of holding back is unraveling in gentle streams. You remember the birthdays no one came to, the homework you perfected while hiding tears in the bathroom, the times you swallowed fear so others could feel calm. And now, you say to that child, it wasn't your fault. You were just a child. You get to play now. You get to rest now. You get to be seen. The world outside is still loud. It still asks for perfection, for masks, for strength. But inside, a quiet revolution blooms. Softness becomes a victory. Stillness becomes a teacher. Joy becomes permission. And love becomes a right, not a reward. You take slow steps toward life. Not perfect steps. Not measured or earned steps. Just steps that feel real. Steps that let the child dance and the adult breathe. You love in ways you forgot existed. You cry in ways you never allowed. You hug. You rest, you speak, without asking permission. The child inside smiles. The adult inside listens. And together, they move forward. You understand now, perfection was never the goal. Survival was. But now, freedom is. You let go of the weight you carried. The world can still demand. The world can still judge. But you are no longer trapped. You carry softness in one hand and courage in the other. The child inside whispers, I am here. I always was. And the adult replies, I see you. I hear you. I won't leave you. The sky outside stretches wide. The sunlight pours in, not to blind you, but to remind you that life can be gentle. You take a seat on the quiet earth. You let the wind touch your face. You let the past rest where it belongs. And you smile, not the practiced smile that hid everything, but a true smile. The child laughs. The adult laughs. The soul sighs. This is not the end. It is a beginning. A life where you can be soft, a life where you can be human, a life where being enough doesn't require perfection. You are coming home to yourself, to the child you never left behind, to the adult you were always meant to be. And for the first time, you feel it, freedom.